Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Today, I'm doing a few of my recent reads. Let's just jump into it. I'm grouping this as one book, even though it's 6 mini books because they were released as a series. That is The Green Mile by Stephen King. Now, if you are new here, I almost gave up on Stephen King. I was like, I don't know if he was the right author for me. Like, the books I had read were weird. But then somebody commented and said, try Green Mile. I think you would like it. And I remember as a kid, I watched a movie adaptation and I thought I liked it, but I didn't remember the actual story. But I got it and I read it, and y'all, it was so good. My husband actually went through this with me. He did the audiobook and I read like the mini series. But so the first one, part 1 is The Two Dead Girls. The second part is The Mouse on the Mall. The third is Coffee's Hands. The fourth is The Bad Death of Edward Delacroix. And part 5 is Night Journey. And then it ends with part 6, Coffee on the Mall. So, like I said, when this was released, Stephen King wrote and released one per month. He did talk about how it was strenuous and he probably would never do it again because it was so stressful. But I can imagine at the time, and even like joining some subreddits about it, at the time, people were like amped to get this book, to get the next one and see what's next. I'm glad I got to read it all at once. Like, yes, I like a good anticipation build, but I wanted to fly through this, and I did. It was enjoyable. My husband actually finished it first, and then I finished it right after him. But yeah, if you don't know what this book is about, it is about the main character, John Coffey. Well, it's 2 main characters. There's Paul, who is a prison guard, and then there is John Coffey, who is a prisoner on death row. They call their death row the Green Mile. And it just talks about how John Coffey has like this special power / spirituality / healing ability. And it just goes on to like, you know, that journey, why he's in prison in the first place, why he's on death row. If there are any redeeming qualities, what are they? How he connects with other people in the prison, like the warden, other prisoners, the prison guards, stuff like that. So I thought it was interesting. I don't know if this is classified as a horror or a thriller, but it was good. It was good. I feel like I wish I would have read this before I read the other Stephen King books that I read, because this was way more my speed. So thank you for recommending this. I'm glad I read it. My husband enjoyed it. We got to talk about it. And yeah, it was good. And I never could deny that Stephen King was a good writer. Like he knows what he's doing as far as world building and creativity and just setting the scene, you know. So I'm glad that I picked this book up because of y'all recommendation. Glad I read it. I enjoyed it. Yeah. And now they sell this as one book, like I said, which is why I counted this as, you know, one book. But that's the first one. Next, we have, this is so good, A Gathering of Old Men by Ernest J. Gaines. I picked this book up. To be fair, I'm fully aware of who Ernest J. Gaines is and was when I bought the book. I hadn't read A Lesson Before Dying, but I owned it. But really what made me pick it up is the cover. Like, I was just like, yeah, what's this about? It's old black men, you know, they got shotguns. And then the back says, set on a Louisiana sugarcane plantation in the 1970s. A Gathering of Old Men is a powerful depiction of racial tensions arising over the death of a Cajun farmer at the hands of a black man. Sounds interesting. What I can say about this, I did enjoy it. And that pretty much is the synopsis. There is a murder that takes place on this sugarcane in the 70s. There's still a lot of racial things going on. Still a lot of like unfair practices. Like this hate group is involved in a lot of stuff. And there is this crime that happens at the beginning of the book, and you get to hear everybody's perspective and their account of what happened. So you kind of get to see this one event get told from like multiple point of views. And it's interesting because you get to hear from old black men, you get to hear from young black men, you get to hear from old white men, old white ladies, old black ladies. Like you get everybody's perspective, and then it comes to form like one cohesive story. So I thought it was good. Very interesting. Definitely brings up some important questions. I thought it was good. Like I got some notes in here. It was good, you know. So that's that. I will be reading A Lesson Before Dying soon. Like somehow it's in my Goodreads as read like in 2017, but I'm sure I didn't read it. So I'll be reading that soon. But yeah, enjoy this book. It was well written, powerful, important, and just like it was just written well. If y'all have read this, let me know in the comments what you think. Next, okay, we have Race for Profit: How Banks and the Real Estate Industry Undermine Black Home Ownership by Keeanga-Yamahtta Taylor. And this book right here opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff. Like I hate to say like I'm very well versed in such and such. I'm very aware of real estate practices in the United States. But what this book did was hone in on low income housing, specifically HUD, and their programs and how they targeted. Like I knew that they targeted minorities, specifically black people, to give these loans and stuff to. But then what it kind of branched out to show is, again, it focused mostly on HUD and the building of the program. It also really talks about the government involvement in those things, kind of like that dance that's played between private corporations and the public. Like government and private corporations, they play this dance like they're in bed together. And at the end of the day, it's about power and the almighty dollar. Like they care about money and power. Money and power. And that's really what this book highlighted to me. It talked a lot about how what was originally seen as a risky investment, a risky venture, then the risk itself actually became what was attractive, because you were thinking like, oh, I could sell this same loan multiple times. Like we're expecting you to default on this. And then not only that, I can sell you this house that's trash. You're not going to be able to fix it. It's already bad. I mean, you a loan for it like it's good. Once again, you know, rinse and repeat. And it just made me think like there's no limit to greed. There's no limit to greed. Publicly, privately. And you just be like, man, like, okay. It also talks about what kind of system has to be in place to keep something like that going. Like it doesn't, yes, it was, HUD was specifically designed around like the low income housing and low income black people, but it's not in a silo. In order for that to work, you need the opposite side. Like you need white neighborhoods being priced at such and such. You need this group over here. You need blockbusting. You need redlining. You need these things. You need to be able to devalue this to increase value over here. And it just goes to show like that symbiotic relationship between the two. I thought it was good. It was dense at some points, but in a good way. In a good way. I appreciated it. It really made me be like, bro, there's no limit to the predatory practices and who is being preyed on. Look, if they can step on your head, they will. This was a good read. If you read this, let me know what you think. If you haven't, I urge you to consider it, because to me, it was so worth it. I wish I would have read it before now. And even if you consider yourself to be like, well educated in real estate practices in the United States, dating back to 100 years ago. Still check this out because I still feel like there's something you can learn about it. So yeah, that's that. And last today, we're gonna end on something a little more fun, but not fun, but kind of heavy, but fun. That is The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. This is a retelling of Mulan, and it stands on its own 2 feet to me. First of all, look how pretty it is. Let's rip the clothes off real quick. Just look. It's so pretty. Anyways, this is a retelling of Mulan, and I like retellings when they're done right. When a retelling is like you kind of already have a structure in place. I know what's gonna happen to Mulan. Look, that's not who that is in this book, but I know what's gonna happen to the main character. I know about her relationship with her dad. I know about her joining the military. I know kind of what she has to face. I know there's going to be a love interest at some point. I know there's going to be ultimatums. Like, you kind of have this structure, and that doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it bad. It just raises your expectations, I think, because if I already know essentially the structure of how the story is going to go, you really have to pull other stuff out to keep the reader engaged. Like, you really have to be creative in a different way. You have to be able to tell the story to keep the reader engaged. And she did that in this book. Like, the main character does have issues in the home. She does have, does go into the military, does face a lot of those problems, but it brings life to it in another way. Like, it takes this animated series or animated movie and makes it something that you're like, yeah, I can really see this. Yeah, the main character, her name is Mylene, and this book is like, it brings in magic, and it brings in the military powers, and it brings in forces that you can't see, and it brings in like family in a way that's different from Mulan, like the same in some ways but different in other ways. The love interests are more like fleshed out because I just feel like, she kind of knew who her audience was. And I just feel like it was done well. There is a second book coming out. So this is a part of a duology. I think the second book comes out in August 2025. I will be reading that because I want to know what happens. Like, I know what happens overall, but it's still stuff in this book where you have to read to kind of figure out where the story goes. There are some liberties taken, obviously creative liberties, where it's not exactly the same. It's not a cookie cutter book. It's good, y'all. If you like retellings, get this. Like, I watched, what's that show called? Once Upon a Time, like the retelling of Snow White, but it's a series. It's good. Like, you kind of know, you have the basis, but they can do other stuff with it. They put a spin here, they flip this on its head, they show that, they don't show that, they highlight this, they embellish that. And that's kind of what this book is. It was good to me. I enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's it for today, y'all. If you read any of these, let me know. If you want to read any of these, let me know. And I'm going to see y'all on the next one.